All right, we are live and on air. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's Kickoff Labs marketing chat. I am Josh Ledgard, the co-founder of Kickoff Labs. Before we get into today's topic, the Beer Hammer crowdfunding launch story, I want to do a little bit of housekeeping. For those of you here, if you haven't heard, Kickoff Labs is the quick and easy way to build viral campaigns and get new customers. Our tools help you create smarter launch, viral contests, giveaways, opt-in bribes, and event-focused campaigns like this one. The sign-up form, the landing page, the webinar viewing page that you're on is all running powered by Kickoff Labs. So if you haven't tried us out, I'd love to have you get your feedback. I'd love to have you go sign up, try it risk-free for 30 days, and let us know what you think. The reason we do these events live is for the interactivity. So for everybody that's on the chat, I'd love you all to sign in, introduce yourself, and post questions. We'll be pausing regularly throughout the chat and to look for live questions, and we'll do our best to answer them. So if you haven't already, go ahead and introduce yourself to the chat audience and start thinking about some questions you have. If you're looking to do a Kickstarter, or you're looking to do some crowdfunding, I know that that Luke has some great strategies and some great tips and tricks for you that we'll tease out throughout the event. In today's event, I'm going to introduce our guest, and we're going to walk through his story Q&A style. I've got a set of questions that we've had submitted by the audience that we've come up with. Everybody will have a chance to get those questions answered. All right, now that I have everyone's attention, I've given people a couple minutes to turn on the video stream. Let's get into it. I love beer. It makes me happy, and it also is part of what makes me happy to bring you today's guest. Luke Brown. Say hi, Luke.
Hi everybody.
Luke is the founder of the Cedar Horse Workshop, and he recently successfully launched a Kickstarter campaign for his product, the Beer Hammer. I'd kind of like to skip to the end for a moment and tell people, to you, what is that success? What does that success mean? What does it look like?
I guess to me the biggest success was having a community of people that believed in what I wanted to do. Half of Kickstarter is finding out if what you're doing is going to be successful, if people like it. If people don't like it, they're not going to back your project. So all the money aside, the biggest success to me was finding out that there was people that were passionate about this craftsmanship, this cause, and I think that was the biggest success to me.
So really, it validated that there was an audience for the type of work you wanted to do.
Yes.
And it gave you, it kind of gave you permission to keep going and do more down the road, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if it failed and no one was interested in it, that's pretty clear that you should look at another field of work,
Yeah, it's absolutely. Or maybe try one more time at least.
Yeah, yeah. Don't give up that easy, I guess. But I mean,
yeah.
with all the work I had put in, a failure would have told me a lot. So.
All right, so I'm going to share a couple of slides here. So I have the slide up here. So like I said, today's conversation will be lesson learned in successful crowdfunding. Luke Brown is our guest. You can read about it on the slide, but I kind of want to hear from Luke. Give me some insight into your background. So where you came from before you had this idea, what you'd been doing, what you'd been working on, and kind of how you got into this kind of craftsmanship.
Mm-hmm. I'm from a small town, Faith, South Dakota, 400 people, and I mean out in the middle of nowhere. Like closest town is 30 miles away. You got to drive an hour to get to a movie. But I found on our ranch, I grew up on a ranch, an old building on our abandoned house that my dad had stored his old wood tools in. And he didn't do any woodworking anymore, but I just went over after school and taught myself how to use the different tools in there. So I grew up kind of working on little Christmas gifts for people, building various things, and then went to college for math education. Didn't have a wood shop to work in, so I kind of got away from it a little bit. But when I transferred to St. Mary's University, I actually entered a religious seminary. We had a wood shop down in the basement, and I worked down there as much as I could and learned how to build different things like cigar box guitars. Learned how to use tools better. Learned about different tools through YouTube videos, things like that. Other people taught me stuff. And after I left the seminary, I got back to South Dakota and decided, I had a big career change there. I needed to find kind of what career, what job I wanted to pursue. And a lot of people told me I was good at woodworking. I knew throughout my travels, I spent a year studying in Rome, that, South Dakota, this is kind of like ranch kid stuff. Everybody kind of knows how to do it. But when I got out of South Dakota, I realized that it was something that was kind of rare. I found myself building furniture for everybody in the seminary because no one else really knew how. And that's kind of what spurred this, wanting to teach people craftsmanship, wanting to make it a life goal, I guess, to spread this craftsmanship.
That's an amazing story. Did you have so your background is completely in the craft and your passion, and you managed to have this successful campaign. Did you have any background in doing internet marketing or selling things or other businesses along the way, or is this the first incarnation of that?
This was the first one. I've always been interested in technology. I play music. I do photography and video work stuff, just hobbies that I picked up, and it all just kind of came together to make. I did the music in my Kickstarter video. I did all the video work myself with a tripod in this old house that was 110 degrees inside, and I've always been pretty good at relating with people, and I think that was probably the biggest asset in rallying people behind something like this. But no, I had no experience with business like that.
It's amazing. And so you kind of had to pick everything up as you were going, and the lessons you've learned you kind of picked up from other people, from online, from other tips and tricks, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about your idea and how you came to this particular idea as the one you were going to.
Craftsmanship or the beer hammer?
Start with craftsmanship. You kind of talked a little bit about craftsmanship and why, what I heard was you discovered that, outside of once you left your home, you realized that that this wasn't the norm in terms of things that people knew how to do. But talk a little bit more about the beer hammer idea.
The beer hammer idea came from when I was in Rome. I spent Christmas in Germany with some family friends that came out to tour South Dakota. We met them in faith, kind of easy to run into, people in faith, and spent Christmas with them in Germany. And the dad of the family I was staying with pulled out this hammer gavel looking thing that was very, very different looking than mine. And he started opening German beers with it, and I just thought that was pretty cool. And I had never done lathe work. That's how basically I build these things, is on a lathe. So when I got home, I decided I wanted to make something that people would use often, that it would be a very personal thing, like something you set on the bar or in your kitchen, and I wanted it to be personalized, so that it would be special to people. It would have their name in it, and I guess that's kind of what I used as the staple item of something to build this plan around. Because no matter what, if you want to do a Kickstarter, you want people to get behind your idea of craftsmanship, but you also have to have something that people want or need. I mean, that's half the game, So I just figured it's an item I can make fairly cheaply. It's not gonna be. I threw around ideas like a standing desk or a chessboard, but each one of those is going to be in the hundreds of dollars, and the majority of pledges on Kickstarter are in the $20 to $40 range. So I needed to find something.
How'd you find that out?
I did a ton of research on successful Kickstarter campaigns. I I emailed, hundreds of successful people. I got a few good replies from people who had ran successful Kickstarters. I looked at the statistics. I looked at, the people told me that their highest selling items were their $20 or $30 items, and so that's kind of what I really wanted to create, was something in that price range.
So I kind of skipped ahead because I wanted the picture up earlier. So this is kind of this is the picture of the actual item, and so you're able to produce this at that price point for people on Kickstarter then.
Yes, yep. That's actually the most popular one right there. That's walnut barrel style, and I think 200 of the 400 were that style right there.
That's incredible. I love that. I love that you didn't just say I'm going to do a standing desk and I'm going to take the standing desk and promote that on Kickstarter, because obviously you've got the skills, you could probably do that, but you went ahead and you didn't necessarily validate the particular idea, but you validated the market existed within a price range, which is an interesting way of looking at it. That you didn't go ahead first and kind of validate the idea, but you were validating that there was this is the price point I want to set for it, and this is where I need to hit. And then I assume it also meant it helped you build a larger audience, because if you were talking about a standing desk, the volume would probably be lower because it would take you longer to do, I assume.
Yeah, definly.
I have to ask, because all I know about woodworking is Nick Offerman from Parks and Rec. So
that's I've been told many times that I look like him, so I know who you're talking about.
So tell me about, so now you have this price point and you have the concept of, that's something you can do within the price point and the idea. Tell me about, why you decided to have, before you went on Kickstarter, what you did before you got on Kickstarter.
From the advice I learned from all those people, and by the way, if anybody's looking for lessons in Kickstarter, Jamie Stagmeyer at that's not his name, but it's Stagmeyer Games. I think I should look it up, but he has a whole series of Kickstarter lessons that are extremely helpful. He's successfully ran 4 or 5 of them now, but his advice and multiple others were that you have to put in months of work before you even start. You can't just get no matter how cool the idea is, with rare exceptions, you need an audience and a community before you even begin. And so I'd say it's probably at least 3 months of work at the bare minimum before you actually launch your Kickstarter. And so one of the things this guy recommended was a landing page. And so I looked at different landing pages, Launch Rock, Kickoff Labs. I'm trying to think of the other ones. I don't remember them because I went through Kickoff Labs. But I needed something that would be easily shareable, that could have a contest, and actually good support. And by the way, Kickoff Labs offered incredible support on getting it mobile ready, all that different stuff. So when I finally had this landing page, it became months of just forwarding it around. The contest got a lot of people involved. And basically it just set up so that the day I pushed the launch button on Kickstarter, I had hundreds of people just ready to back it, ready to promote it, ready to spread it all over the place. And so I think I was 50% funded in the first 12 hours. I mean, maybe it was the first 24 hours, I guess, but it was very fast. And it got the attention of Kickstarter. I mean, there's a lot of work involved before you start. Aside from the landing page, I sort of talked to a lot of people on different woodworking blogs. Art of Manliness was a big one. Just these different interest blogs for craftsmanship where you kind of spread your idea. And I think that the key to that is that to know that the whole point of Kickstarter, what you're doing, is to build a community around your idea. If you're out there just badgering people on blogs, trying to sell them something or get them to tweet out your Kickstarter, it's not going to work. And that's not what you should want. You should want to build community, spread ideas, talk about your product, but listen a lot too. And so that's what I did. And I spent months on those blogs before I even mentioned that I was going to do a Kickstarter. And so when the time came, I did have a few supporters. Brett McKay from Art of Manliness tweeted it to thousands of followers. So it was just, yeah, it's about building that community.
So to replay what you said, it wasn't just about the landing page and the Kickstarter and badgering people. You were out there finding the appropriate communities. So you mentioned the Art of Manliness and a couple other sites and popular blogs. How were you building relationships there? What were you doing in those communities?
I guess, being interested in craftsmanship, I want to read about it. And so I would read their blog post, I would comment on what I liked about it. I would, if I disagreed, I would talk about what I disagreed about. It was just engaging them in what they wrote and taking an interest in their blog posts. And masculinity is a big one too. So I was really active on Art of Manliness. I was very interested in that. So yeah, I guess just engaging people, talking about what you like about their page, and again, having community in mind the whole time.
And so while you're doing this, and this is actually an excellent strategy, and it's something that we've done in internet marketing communities, is we'll go and build a presence, or I'll go and build a presence because I'm really interested in how people spread the word and helping people get more leads. And when I see best practices, I'll try and offer my advice. Like, here's what I think about your article, and it's good to see that it works beyond beyond our space, because I tell people this all the time. I say you should go out there and find your people, and when you find your people, it's easy to have conversations with them. And when you're having conversations with them, you're building this, you're building an expert persona, or sort of this vision of expertise, or at least somebody that they can trust. So that when you have something, when you say, hey, I've got this idea and I'm running this contest, let me know what you think, people are a lot more willing to participate than if you just came to the community cold and said, hey, come join my pre-launch, or come fund my Kickstarter, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think I looked at a lot of crowdfunding websites. There's crowdfunding tips, crowdfunding.com I think is another one. And I think the most obnoxious thing on there was people jumping on there and throwing their Kickstarter on there. And it has on forums, this person is joined this date, has commented this many times, and you would see that they had joined a day earlier and it was their first post. So they're not contributing to the conversation at all. They're just like, please help me with my Kickstarter. And most of the time that was people who had already launched theirs and they were kind of floundering in their Kickstarter, so they posted something at the last minute, and that just got very very obnoxious when you're trying to talk about Kickstarter, talk about different things. Just to have someone come in completely self-interested and immediately badger you about supporting their Kickstarter.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about building that trust and reputation. So let's talk specifically about the pages you used for the pre-launch. And there's a bunch of stuff that I like about the page. The video, was that your actual Kickstarter video, or was it kind of like a rough cut, or what did you do for the video on the page?
I would consider that a trailer to the Kickstarter video. It was only 30 seconds long. It had a brief piece of the music, showed what the beer hammer did, just very basically. There were no words to it. It was just very simple. If you want to grab someone's attention, 30 seconds to a minute is a pretty good time aim for the video. And so it just showed what it did, and it just said kickstarting soon. No definite date, no, just soon.
So a couple of things I liked about it is, one, you had a great incentive on the contest, which is actually giving away a product. And the worst thing I see people do is just say on a coming soon page, or launch pages, they'll say, hey, join our crowd, but there's no reason why they should. There's no incentive. Mm-hmm. You're actually trying to create this audience by saying, hey, you could win this, so participate in our contest, which is a lot more engaging, a lot more exciting for people. What made you want to do that as part of the pre-launch, so running this contest?
I guess first I wanted to put beer hammers in the hands of people, whether they were free or not, and I wanted to build the audience around it. I wanted to give people incentive. Yeah, it makes a great way to when people have the chance to win one, it makes it very easy to share it and to sign up. It's important to not badger them with emails once you do get them signed up. And I think I sent emails rarely until the Kickstarter started. But yeah, I wanted to give people an incentive to share it.
Other thing I like about the page is that you're saying, A, you've got some virality. The more you share, the more interest you get, and you've got an end date, which was 3 days, 11 hours, 25 minutes, and it says if you don't win this round, you can try again next week. So were you running these contests on a weekly basis and just promoting them new each week?
Yes. I had the 25 beer hammers that were the general drawing at the end, but I also had a weekly prize where the person who shared it the most got a beer hammer and coasters, and the second place person got a beer hammer. So there was a weekly. It gave them incentive to keep sharing it, and that's the only time I emailed them. I emailed them on Sundays and said the share contest has been reset, and now if you share it again, you get another entry into that. So you have the overall 25 beer hammers where no matter what, your name is getting thrown in there, and then you've got the sharing incentive where I had people who shared it every Monday because that's when the thing started over.
That's a great strategy, because a lot of times people have questions if they're running, not just a launch but a contest, and they say, well, I don't want to do an ultimate giveaway for 2 months, but how do I give people a sense of urgency? And so the thing I liked about this was that you were giving people a sense of urgency. You're saying you've got a week or you've got 3 more days, even though your campaign may have lasted 2 or 3 months doing this. Every time somebody came to the page, it felt like there was a little bit more urgency and a reason to get on board.
Yeah, definitely. That's why I loved the timer option that the landing page offered. It was just a great way to keep it going. And
so, talking about the sharing incentives, you guys had a really good sharing. You guys had a really good viral boost from folks sharing, and it was just really simple. Like this was your thank you page. Like it's thanks for your interest. It's good to feel loved. I think that might have been from some of our default text on the screen.
I think it was, yeah.
And then you asking like share this for a chance to win. I mean it's super simple, and then you've got a link to continue to the website, and so let's see how that worked for you. So Luke was kind enough to share some of his results. And so what this says, if you're looking at the page, is that they had about a 19% conversion rate for the landing pages, or the campaign in general, over the time, and they had a 90% viral boost, which says that 90% of people that were coming came because they used one of the share links. So you were almost doubling your audience with the share link. So you were close to that point where you doubled the audience from the sharing of the people you brought to the page. And so I assume you were happy with those results.
Yeah, very much.
Tell me a little bit more about how you promoted those contests. And I know you mentioned some of those communities specifically. But how did you get people? So I look at the next set of results, and you've got 1,460 so conversions, and you've got 8,000 page views coming. So how did you generate those the majority of those 8,000 page views that were coming to the contest pages?
Well, the truth is I have a lot of great friends and family, specifically on Facebook. That's where it was shared a lot. I've got about 1,500 Facebook friends that really, friends I've met through college and everything. It just made it really easy to put it on Facebook and have it shared. I took out some ad space on Facebook. You can, it's so handy. It's my first experience with ads targeting, beer lovers, woodworking lovers, all that sort of stuff. So I paid advertising for that. I even had a YouTube ad shortly, where those annoying ads you see before a YouTube video, where it was that 30-second video from that landing page. Another thing I did that is probably a little out of the ordinary is this guy signed up. I was generally looking at people who signed up, thanking them personally, and one of them was a guy named James Barton who ran a giveaway website, and he shared it on his giveaway website, and that's when I'd say 1,000 just came from that. And
Did
it
he
might.
share it on his own, or did he share it because you reached out to him and you noticed in his profile that that's what he did?
I guess I looked him up, and I mean his website was right there, and
Yep.
I just said it's cool that you run a giveaway site, and he won one of the beer hammers because of share referrals, and he
Hmm.
said he emailed me back right away and said this is an awesome project, I'd like to share it on my website, and I said sure, and it was great, and it might not have been the highest quality signups, people who probably weren't gonna back the Kickstarter, but at least they were sharing it, and they were all taking advantage of that viral, the share buttons, and so, no matter what, more people saw it, and that was very beneficial.
And so you got that, and I want to be clear for people to see, because I tell people this all the time. You got that extra layer of referrals and those extra shares because you were, one, paying attention to people that signed up to your campaign,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And you were personally emailing folks. I want to assume you personally emailed everyone, but I assume you personally emailed a lot of the people that signed up to say,
Yeah.
hey, thanks for signing up. So you weren't just relying completely on like a set it and forget it campaign. You were putting
Yeah.
in that sweat equity to build not just the audience, but then once you had this audience, to get them engaged with you as a brand.
Yeah, exactly. People were not just numbers until I think that like 1,000 email subscribers for the giveaway. I think it was kind of hard to keep up with all that. But Kickstarter backers, all that stuff. When the Kickstarter first took off, I sent everybody messages and said thank you. I just wanted them to know that it was important to me, and I was very thankful. And in every package that I send out, I put a handwritten note saying thank you for the support, and if you like your beer hammer, please send me a message, and I think that's why people became so engaged with the Kickstarter campaign, is because I made it personal. I wanted it to be personal. I very thankful to my backers and care about them, and want them to know that, and not that they're not just numbers, just like in this slide right here, I don't just want the backer number to increase,
Mhm.
that's not just what it's about that community.
So you built the audience on you built an initial audience with these contests running on Kickoff Labs. So
Hmm.
talk about the transition in building the next phase, the Kickstarter page. And I know you've got a lot of tips and tricks that worked really well building this page
Hmm.
out before you had any backers, but when you were getting started, getting the page up and going.
Hmm. The whole time the kickoff labs landing page was running, I was working in the background on photos of everything, building different styles, getting this whole page going. And I took a Photoshop class in high school, and just kind of stuck with it. And so I became pretty good at editing photos and everything. So I built my product, I built the styles, put together, got down to the dollars and cents, how much it was going to cost me to get this to somebody's doorstep, and just did all that back. We looked at tax information. I mean, there's so much that goes into it. You don't want to run a campaign that, like, some people have gone really, really high, like $100,000, and then they didn't take into account taxes. And so, I mean, that can ruin you really quick. So I did all of that build up, and I guess the most work, I would say, went into the video. Running a tripod and talking to yourself in a room is kind of hard to do, and make it convincing, and so I'd say the most work went into that. The music in it was all recorded in that house on a little microphone, and I wanted a video. Most of the advice says 30 seconds to a minute for a video, but I certainly didn't feel like that was enough, so I wanted to make it really compelling, which is why I chose that song. It's just kind of a really catchy song to stay in the video. And I guess, I had a really high percentage of people that watched the video all the way to the end. So no matter what, you have to have a video, and it has to be engaging. Because I don't know the statistics right now, but a huge percentage of Kickstarters succeed with a video versus those that don't have a video. So videos are very important. I proofread the thing hundreds of times, redid photos, just got everything down perfectly, and the whole time signatures or subscriptions are building up on the landing page. And finally, it became time, and I said, when the contest ended, I said, in 1 week, I'll be emailing you, and it's go time.
And there are a couple of things that that I caught. So you mentioned in some blog posts that you about using early bird delivery, customization, or like an animated GIF. So what are some of the other elements you use to get people to pledge early in the campaign?
I guess I don't really like early bird stuff, even though mine is very similar to an early bird. I had what was called the Christmas special, which was I will deliver it sooner so that you can have it as a gift. The early bird special I am not a big fan of, for the reason that it stinks coming to a page late and seeing that you weren't quick enough to get. It's not that you were waiting to pledge or you were back and forth. I mean, it's just you didn't get there fast enough.
Yeah.
And I guess there's a fine line. I might be splitting hairs here on Christmas delivery versus early bird, but I just thought that it was important to have like a few unique, cool ones that I think most of it is a Kickstarter is kind of setting yourself apart in different ways. Like, how many Kickstarter campaigns have customizable products? How many have one where, like, I had the Pioneer where you could create your own. I mean, that's a pretty unique thing to my campaign. So yeah, it's just, yeah, I guess I didn't like the early bird, but I did like that incentive better, the Christmas one.
No, it's a good idea, and like you said, it sets yourself apart, and it gives people a reason to pledge sooner or pledge more to get those particular things. And so when you sent out that initial email and you said it was within 24 hours you were halfway funded, talk about that timeline. Did people from the email go, and were they some of the people that backed and signed up?
Yeah. I mean, definitely. I'd say I think I ended with 350 backers, roughly that area, and they just rallied to the thing as soon as they could. I actually had to shut notifications off from Kickstarter because I was getting emails like crazy that I couldn't keep up with.
It's a good problem to have, right?
Yeah, very good. I am not complaining one bit. But yeah, I emailed them and said, it's go time. It's important that we get this thing noticed. I've read that the way Kickstarter does staff picks is they just open all the new ones. They open, each person on the staff has tabs open like crazy, and they're just going through and looking at each one of them. I got an email, I think, in the first 2 or 3 hours that I was a staff pick, and I would say it's in large part to people backing it, and within the first hour or two, it had, I think, $1,000 or $2,000, and that tells Kickstarter that work has been put into this. You definitely see the ones that stand out. You definitely see the ones that work has been put into, especially when there's already 10% of the funding, there, which is what was the case in mine.
Yeah, and this is obviously a big reason why you read the advice and why a lot of people have the advice of wanting to build the audience before you go for it, because that momentum informs Kickstarter or whatever company you're going to use for your crowdfunding, that like, hey, this is a trending pick. This is something to look at. And it gets that going. And then obviously it starts to become self-fulfilling once you're a staff pick. I'm sure that it got you even more notifications coming in for funding,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, definitely. Because one of the big things of Kickstarter is momentum. You have to keep momentum going. You want it to start strong and keep going through the whole campaign. There's a great website called kicktrack.com, which ends with a Q, Kicktrack, and it tells you, it gives you data, daily data of where you're trending. It's a great tool for the Kickstarter, and it's important, like you'll see in those days, especially if you look at massively successful ones where they had things strategically planned, 6 days in, 10 days in, to kind of keep that momentum going, whether that be interviews, sometimes local news sources will pick you up. There's great websites like Uncrate, Cool Hunting, where they feature cool products to thousands of viewers. And I never I never lucked out to get on one of those sites, but they have been very helpful to some campaigns. So it's just, if you look at the kick track chart of almost any Kickstarter, there's a ton of backers at the beginning and a ton of them at the end. It's like a big U with the projection, and so it's just important to keep that momentum going.
So some of the momentum, and talk about the stretch goals you had. So how did that work for you?
Okay,
I had an example on the screen here.
Yeah. I had different stretch goals. For people who don't know, are just above and beyond your goal. If you hit this stretch goal, you can accomplish something else. So, for example, I had a magnet option at $15,000. My goal was $10,000, and I knew that if I made that much more money, I could dip into profits and offer something else. It's about offering more because you have more money to play with. Mm-hmm. So at 15,000, it just gives people an incentive to keep sharing. People really wanted that magnet. I found out they shared it like crazy so that they could get a magnet to hold beer caps in the head of the hammer. So I mean, almost everybody asked for a magnet, and I think my other stretch goals could have been better. The problem is that the stretch goals I had didn't seem to offer that much more value. I was trying to think, what else can I add to this beer hammer? Should I add a Swiss Army knife to the handle or something like that? But it's about adding something of value to the backer, and that's what makes people want a stretch goal to succeed very much.
Yep. And getting down to the last pick. So what happened? Like you said, it's in the U. So what happened in the last couple days of the campaign?
Well, I use Instagram a lot. I'd say that's Facebook and Instagram are the biggest marketing things I use. I put stuff out there that it was almost over, and Kickstarter you always see a lot at the end because there's a remind me button on the Kickstarter page where it will remind you within 48 hours that the Kickstarter campaign is about to end. So a lot of people want to see, is it successful? Did we hit stretch goals? Because they have conditions on whether or not they want to back you. So in the last 48 hours, the backers spiked up again because I think of that remind me button. And there's again a sense of urgency, which is very useful. People knew that they were going to be more expensive after the Kickstarter, which is a point I kind of missed. If you want to give your people incentive to back your product and project, I'd say lower the price, and it's about building community. Again, I've repeated myself many times, but to do that, I think it's important to take a hit in your profits in order to make people feel to rally around this as being like the pioneers of your, the first ones to back your product. I think that's very important.
No, absolutely. I completely agree with the sentiment. And so to you, we got a picture up of the first satisfied customer. Was this one of those definitions of success for you that you were just could share and relish in?
Yeah, definitely. I guess I was a little nervous. I knew that people would think it was cool, but you just don't. Friends and family are usually going to be supportive no matter what you do. They're going to tell you, if you carve a toothpick, they're going to say, "Wow, that's really cool, and you're really talented." But I wanted to, have a customer who I didn't know at all say something about it. And this Corey Derry lives here in Rapid City, and I could have hand delivered it, but he got it, and as soon as he got it, he unboxed everything. This is another thing I really wanted to do. I wanted to throw surprises in the box that people weren't expecting. That's my business card, a sticker, a note to all Kickstarter backers, and then the handwritten postcard, just thanking them for their contribution, and then a keychain bottle opener sitting there. Just, it's always nice to open a box and just kind of keep pulling out goodies, and that's I think that's at least I'm pretty satisfied when that happens to me. So to have this guy put this picture on Facebook was just very very affirming of the craftsmanship, the quality. I was very happy with this.
Yeah, I can imagine it's great when you see somebody using your product, or for the first time, and they're happy and they're posting their story, and like you said, it's just amazing. It's like you could have hand delivered it, but he was just right there and was able to share his story with other people. It's got to be great. If people take away one of the themes through this interview that I've heard, it's that you were very engaged with your audience from before you started building it, throughout building the audience, throughout the campaign, sharing things after the campaign launch. You didn't just take the money and run and go do something next. You were engaging with people after the fact too. Mm-hmm. And so, talk about your belief in terms of keeping customers happy and growing the business from here.
I guess, customer satisfaction was very important to me, and something that really bothered me was at Christmas, I was right down to the wire for delivering beer hammers, and just due to a few complications that I didn't see coming, and I had to email about 10 backers and tell them that their beer hammer had broken, or I found a crack in it, and I didn't want to send them one. You don't want to talk about craftsmanship and then send something that obviously there's no craftsmanship. It's broken, mm-hmm. or very fragile. So I emailed them a deep apology. I threw in coasters for each of them when I finally did deliver it, and people really, I think, appreciated that that care. I wasn't just silent. And another thing was engaging people in the comment section, because you want. It's not just simply for returning customers. It's not like a selfish endeavor, but it's just thanking them for their contribution. And I think people are much more willing to watch your business and keep track of your progress if you do make things personal like that. And so in the letters I sent to them with their beer hammer, I said, please let me know what you think, whether it be privately or on the Kickstarter page. And so that's where I got a lot of these comments, was from people who got my note and wanted to let me know how they felt about their product. And so I think that's very important to the future, maybe developing an Etsy store, an online store on your own website, whatever it is. People remember that, and people are gonna keep track of you if you do that, I think.
It sounds like you had a lot of success. You borrowed a lot, you learned a lot from other people online, mm-hmm. and then you gave back to those communities. It sounds like you had a lot of success doing that as well. Mm-hmm. Tell me, I think we just had to throw in these pictures, but tell me what kind of inspired the photos here.
Well, the first one was a tax thing. I did my research, and luckily my taxes did not surprise me. It's just it's the first time I've really had to go in and file tax. Working or going to school, filing taxes is very different than going in and having to sit down and explain this transaction was for tools. I did all the procedures. I opened a business account, only used it for expenses related to the business. So it was very easy, and I actually received a huge compliment from the accountant when she asked me if I had a background in accounting, and I said no, and she said, because this is all just kind of perfect. Like it took 10 or 15 minutes to go through my entire tax return for self-employment, and so yeah, it was kind of funny getting this very fancy tax return booklet. So I just kind of thought that'd be fun to share with people. The second picture is that Christmas, getting those 100 beer hammers out for Christmas was a nightmare. I mean, if I'm being perfectly honest, I had hiccups along the way, and I was pulling all-nighters sometimes to get things done. And one of the reasons I took this picture is because I did not realize how long packaging up a beer hammer was going to be. You know, you send something, you send a Christmas gift, and it doesn't take hardly any time. But you multiply that times 100, and handwriting each note, making sure everything is just perfect, going through orders, that takes a lot more time than, you know, shipping a fruitcake to somebody. So
Do you do that all yourself? Do you have family, friends helping you?
I had some friends that were very generous and came over and helped me package these up on 2 different occasions, which I couldn't have done it without them. And so we packaged everything up. I got them all taped. I think this picture was at 4 in the morning when I had gotten the last box done, and I had the next day was the deadline for Christmas delivery at the post office, and so I got a
Did
couple
you
hours of
put
sleep
these
in, and
boxes
then
in a truck and take them to the post office? I mean,
yep, yeah, I have a pickup, and I threw them all in there and took them straight to the post office.
cool. Very.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Do you? And this is a little bit off topic, but you know, it's just amazing here. You know, this journey of starting to turn, you know, your passion into a business. And you hear people today say, "Oh, it's impossible for people to do that anymore," and there's, you know, arguments on either side. Do you think it's more possible than ever because of the tools that are available out there to people to start and take a passion project and start turning it into a career? I mean, you have to believe that, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's difficult. I mean, I think a lot of the people I've talked to who run Kickstarters and that sort of thing or want to follow their passion, they don't realize how hard it's going to be, how it does take a lot of work. And following your passion doesn't mean that you're going to hop right out of bed every morning and just wear a smile all day. You know, there's going to be hard days where you got to work late nights, and you know, I mean, answering emails is not something I'm super passionate about, you know, like spending a lot of time in front of a computer, but it needs to be done in order for me to build this community, which I want to do, and uh, follow my passion, I guess. And I think that the biggest thing is finding a market for your passion, no matter what it is, whether it be music or artwork. I mean, you have to find people and get them interested in it, join the community. That's just really important. Because following your passion is great, but you have to make money at it, which is where you might have to make some compromises on, you know, like I would love to go out and build whatever I wanted to build, you know, and sell it. But the thing is a lot of people really like beer hammers, and so sometimes it gets really old making 700 beer hammers. But it's what I need to do to keep a business going, to follow my passion, and to expand into other projects that people might want someday.
How did your contest on National Beer Day go?
It went pretty good. It was mainly on Facebook. A lot. I didn't put it on the Kickstarter on like an update or anything, but people shared it. A friend of a friend of mine won it. He was very happy. It went well.
So, you know, what's next? I mean, you've got this success. This success. People can still, they can go to Cedarhurst Workshop.
Hmm.
I assume, and what I saw today is I can still order my customized beer hammer. So you're selling this product
Hmm.
online. So what's next for you?
I would the end dream is to I would love someday to open up a shop, have the money for insurance and all that stuff, to teach young men or women carpentry, craftsmanship. I do welding, I do electronics, all sorts of different trades and hobbies, and I would really like to teach people that. I love education. I've taught in various teaching jobs in the last few years while I was in college and out of college, and I love it. I love working with people and educating. So that would be the goal eventually, is to make a living teaching people craftsmanship, almost like a piano lesson. I took piano lessons when I was younger, and you know, you drop somebody off for an hour, and it's so much per lesson. And then I just think it'd be really cool to do that, because I don't know. I imagine it expands further than South Dakota, but a lot of education budgets can't afford shop classes anymore. and so a lot of kids are going through school without any sort of basic education in trades or hobbies like this. As far as the immediate future, I'm still deciding between Etsy or a store on my website, where I would like to get a little more into designing different designs of beer hammers. I like bottle openers, like you. I really like beer, so I'll be
What's
making.
your favorite beer?
I'd say Guinness.
Guinness.
I like Guinness, and ironically, my second favorite is Busch Light. You know, just the good beer and the cheap beer. But yeah, that's the immediate future holds. You know, making a little more creative, a little more, you know, breaking the monotony of the same thing kind of over and over. I'm in a few art festivals this summer. I'll have a booth set up here in Rapid City for different things. So yeah, you're kind of going to have to take it a day at a time and see where it goes.
So if people want to follow you and stay in touch, they should go to cedarhorseworkshop.com, and you've got a blog there where you've posted a lot of if they're interested in crowdfunding, you've posted a lot of great tips on the blog. If they want a beer hammer, it looks like I can go ahead and pre-order the big huge image link here, and I can order my own beer hammer here. And then do you have, you talk about interest in teaching people. Do you have like a channel that you want people to subscribe to, like a YouTube channel or something like that?
I do have one right now, but unfortunately there's nothing on it apart from the Kickstarter video. This summer, I talked about it in one of my last blog posts. This summer I'll be posting tutorials on how to build a beer hammer, how to build small things like a picture frame. Most of the tutorials I've done have been guest posts for like blogs like The Art of Manliness. I did a how-to on how to build a cigar box guitar. So I would really like to expand into that. You know, I might not have a shop to bring people in and teach them, at least on a big scale yet, but I think that YouTube and tutorials on YouTube and my blog will definitely be coming up this summer. So I mean, there's nothing there yet, but if you wanted to subscribe, there will be in the future.
Before we end, is there something I should have asked you, or you were expecting me to ask you, that you think would be helpful for people to know?
I can't think of anything. I mean, we covered a lot, and my strongest point is just remember to make the Kickstarter, whatever business you're doing, about other people. You know, helping other people or offering something to other people. If it's all about you, it's probably not going to be very successful. That's what I saw on the forums. Everything was the people who genuinely cared about their passion, about using their passion to reach other people. They're the ones that made it.
There was a question that came up in the chat, which I failed to get to earlier. You mentioned a little bit about advertising on Facebook. I think you mentioned Facebook ads. I think you mentioned a YouTube ad. Would you consider any of those efforts successful, and would you do them again with another Kickstarter, or?
Yeah, I would. Ad space was actually much cheaper than I thought it would be. You know, you set a daily budget, and it stops when your budget runs out. And if you use it to target small audiences of people, it's going to be much more successful. You have to create a catchy ad, whether it be a cool picture or a video, whatever it is. I would say that advertising was very successful to me. Kickstarter takes out a lot of the risk involved because you don't have to invest a ton of money into a Kickstarter before you begin, but one other than your time and energy. I think advertising is very important to spread a landing page and your Kickstarter. I think that it's very, very useful and worth your money.
Great. I want to thank Luke for being here. These tips, the tips you've been sharing today are absolutely amazing. There's just so much to dig through. If you signed up for the chat or on our chat list, you'll be getting the recap. We'll post the slides. We'll post the transcript to this online. We'll post a lot of the links that Luke mentioned throughout the presentation. And so, and if you enjoyed this, please just let us know. Drop us a line, send us an email back. If you're watching this after the fact, I know a lot of people do watch these after the fact when we promote them. If you haven't heard, I'll mention again my pitch at the end. Kickoff Labs, quick and easy platform for growth. You heard Luke started his Kickoff Labs campaign, or his Kickstarter campaign, by building an audience on Kickoff Labs, and I know you had good things to say about the experience, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The best thing I'll say is that I heard throughout this interview that people should keep in mind is really that concept of not just building an audience, but engaging with the audience. So to me, that was the big thing that came across, was hearing how engaged Luke was with his audience every step of the way before he even had a sign-up page, going into communities and becoming known within those communities. So he was building trust with people that he was going to, to eventually be asking for to help fund his business. And a lot of people miss out on that, and it's one of the reasons at Kickoff Labs, for example, when somebody signs up, their email address, we try and pull back some extra information so you can get a stronger connection. We call that the magic contact data. So you can get some more information about the people that are signing up, and you can see, hey, this person, shares my interest, or this person participates on this site. And when you reach out to them personally, like Luke did with I'm assuming hundreds of the people that signed up, reached out to personally, you've got something you can latch onto so that they know for sure that the email is a personal mail and not just something that you sent that was automated after the fact, because that's the only way you can get through to people these days, is to create that kind of personal, engaging experience. At least that's my belief. You heard it work for Luke in his campaign, launching the Beer Hammer and getting the Cedar Horse workshop off the ground. That's all for today. Like I said, if you enjoyed this, let us know. We'll be posting the recap soon, and contact information. If people want to reach out to you and ask questions, they can find you on Twitter, Luke.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right.
That's at Cedar Horse Shop.
At Cedar Horse Shop, we'll post links to that as well, so you can get in touch with Luke and ask him some of your own questions. I'm sure he'd be happy to answer some questions people might have after the fact.
Definitely. Yep.
All right. Thanks for joining us today, and have a great day, everyone.